Hello everyone, this is Klang and I will be reporting eating disorders for abnormal psych. And yeah, so the clinical description for this topic is eating disorders are serious conditions related to persistent eating behaviors that negatively impact your health, your emotions, and your ability to function in important areas of life. The most common eating disorders are anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. So, most eating disorders involve focusing too much on your weight, body shape, and food, leading to dangerous eating behaviors. These behaviors can significantly impact your body's ability to get appropriate nutrition. Eating disorders can harm the heart, digestive system, bones and teeth and mouth, and lead to other diseases. Eating disorders often develop in the teen and young adults. Although they can develop at other ages, with treatment, you can return to healthier eating habits and sometimes reverse serious complications caused by the eating disorder. So basically guys, ang eating disorders, muni ang mga imbalance eating or cause also may psychological cause man ina siya, pero let's talk about it later. So basically ang eating disorders, 'di ba, usually pag balance meal naton is go glow and grow, may prutas, may utan, may meat, everything. And then we actually eat 3 times a day. Pero kung may eating disorder ikaw, why mo na nasusunod kay very imbalanced gid ka tama ang diet mo. Most of it are it's either junk foods or unhealthy diet, or kulang sa nutrisyon ang lawas mo, why ka nagakaon sa tama nga oras, kag kulang na ang ginakaon mo, na nawi-weekend ang aton nga lawas dason kay kulang ang nutrition nga nababaton sang organs ta. So yes, so ang first nga eating disorder is anorexia nervosa. And anorexia nervosa, often simply called anorexia, is a potentially life-threatening eating disorder characterized by an abnormally low body weight, intense fear of gaining weight, and a distorted perception of weight or shape. People with anorexia use extreme efforts to control their weight and shape, which often significantly interferes with their health and life activities. So bali guys, ang anorexia nervosa natatabo ini usually sa mga models. Because di ba usually ang mga models may mga target, or yes, may mga target BMI na sila, may target sizes for their hips, their waist, kag ang target nila nga kilograms, or yes, wait, ara na kagina. And then muna gani, so they have to keep in track nga ara sila or nakukuha nila ang standards, pero to the point nga naging anxious sila kay syempre waay nila bala na kung nahadlok sila kung what if na hindi nila bala ang target nga BMI or ang shape sang body for a model, basi ligwak na sila agi sa modeling agency. So syempre amo nang ginakahadlokan nila, and very common gid ining anorexia nervosa sa mga models. So yeah, and actually epidemiology rather. So ang epidemiology sang anorexia nervosa, the lifetime prevalence of DSM-4 anorexia nervosa was 2.2%. And half of the cases had not been detected in the healthcare system. The incidence of anorexia nervosa in women between 15 and 19 years of age was 270 per 100,000 person years. The 5-year clinical recovery rate was 66.8%. So basically, ini dabi very common gid ini nga eating disorder So dumadamo gid niya, and mostly occur gid ini sa mga models, and mas laban mga babae. So yeah. The second eating disorder is bulimia nervosa. Bulimia nervosa, commonly called bulimia, is a serious, potentially life-threatening eating disorder. When you have bulimia, you have episodes of binging and purging that involve feeling a lack of control over your eating. Many people with bulimia also restrict their eating during the day, which often leads to more binge eating and purging. So, actually, ang bulimia nervosa, may mga times nga gusto mo gulpi binge eating. So, may mga times nga ginapunggan nila ila kaugalingan magkaon. Do pasugpon-sugpon lang bala, depende sa pag-atake sang ila bulimia. So, mas delikado ina. Kay syempre, what if pila ka adlaw bala nga hindi magkaon ang tawo nga may bulimia, so nagulpi na lang sa magkaon sang sandamukal. O for example, kung ako may bulimia, hindi ko magkaon 3 ka adlaw, tapos gulpi na lang ko magsamgyup. Very very life threatening, kay nga man ginagulpi mo imong kaugalingon, pag nagugulpihan man ang organs, kay nasanay na sila nga waay ta gina intake na food, kag gulpihon mo sila pa ubrahon for digesting. So syempre masamad man ina ang aton nga organs for that matter. And ang epidemiology for bulimia nervosa is pooled results from surveys in 14 countries estimated the lifetime prevalence of bulimia nervosa is 1% and the 12-month prevalence is 0.4%. In the United States, the estimated lifetime prevalence of bulimia nervosa is 0.3%. In females, it is 0.5%, and in males is 0.8%. So kung makita nyo guys, mas laban sa mga lalaki ang bulimia nervosa. And kung overall, it's 1%. Kung over 14 countries, actually, it's only a selected country, damo countries sa kalibutan, and yet 14 countries ang ilan na surveyhan. But anyway, yes, it's actually based on the research. So the third disorder that we have here is binge eating. When you have binge eating disorder, you regularly eat too much and feel a lack of control over your eating. You may eat quickly or eat more food than intended, even when you're not hungry, and you may continue eating even long after you're uncomfortably full. Sa binge eating naman, di ba kagina sa bulimia, bugso. For example, 3 days hindi magkaon, tapos gulpi magsamgyup. Dito sa binge eating, all the time samgyup, unli samgyup tade. Bale, sa binge eating, biskan hindi na nila kaya makaon sila gihapon, kay may urge gid na sila nga magkaon, nga biskan nga mag bloated katama na ila tiyan, kag dumalupok na gid katama, do balloon malupok na, hindi gihapon nila mapunggan nila kaugalingan nga magkaon, kay nga ang ila urge ara gid dira. So even though dumalupok na ila tiyan, kag mamuson sila, hindi gid nila napunggan, kag makaon gid na sila, it's samgyup pa, di ba? Kung makaon guro sila sa samgyup, GG gid So yeah, so ang epidemiology sang binge eating disorder is a systematic research of 3 electronic databases, PubMed, Embase, and PsycInfo, found 32 studies meeting GBD inclusion criteria. The global pooled prevalence of BED, or binge eating disorder, was 0.9%, 95% confidence intervals 0.7 to 1%. Although women 1.4 or 1.1 to 1.7% had higher prevalence than men, which is 0.4% or 0.3 to 0.6%. No significant difference in prevalence was found between high-income countries and low and middle income countries. So basically sa epidemiology, waay may ginapili or waay man super difference sa kung sa mga first world countries to third world country. So amo man nagihapon, so halos palarihas lang na, depende lang na sa tawo or depende lang kung sa imo gid matupa ang binge eating. So next one, the fourth eating disorder that we have is rumination disorder. So rumination disorder is repeatedly and persistently regurgitating food after eating, but it's not due to a medical condition or other eating disorder such as anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating disorder. Food is brought back up into the mouth without nausea or gagging. Regurgitation may not be intentional. Sometimes regurgitated food is rechewed and reswallowed or spit out. So sa rumination, ambot na pasintabi lang sa mga kaon. Pero like, sa rumination naman, may urge bala sila nga pagkaon nila, ginaluad nila, kauno naman nila nilawat ang ikaon nila bala liwat ang ilang niluad. Basically, do in and out bala ang pagkaon. Hambalon nyo lang nga damak, pero it's really true. May mga disorder tanga mo na. And amo na ang syempre mabudlay ina nga sa iban nga tao it's a joke, but sa psychologically it's not. Kaya syempre may cause gid na nga man nagmuna ang tao nga man nagka-disorder siya nga subong sina nga man ginaluad niya kag kauno niya liwat ang iya ginaluad, di ba? So yes, ang epidemiology sang rumination disorder is into population-based studies. Rumination syndrome or rumination disorder, yes, had a prevalence of 0.8 to 0.9% of adults in general population. In patients with hindi ko balaan kung paano na i-pronounce or eating disorders, prevalence of rumination syndrome may be as high as 7 to 8%. So basically, ang sa rumination disorder naman, most likely joke lang, ang mga adults lang ang natatamaan sini. Talagsa lang gid ang mga ang mga bata or mga young adults or mga teenagers most likely go occur gid ina sa mga adults or may mga or ranging mga 30 siguro na. And yes, lastly, the fifth and the last eating disorder that we have here is avoidant or restrictive food intake disorder. So yes, this disorder is characterized by failing to meet your minimum daily nutrition requirements because you don't have an interest in eating. You avoid food with certain sensory characteristics such as color, texture, smell, or taste, or you're concerned about the consequences of eating, such as fear of choking. Food is avoided because of fear of gaining weight. So, muni guys, muni ang mas malala. It's rare, but it's really scary as well. So all of the disorders are really scary kasi by the end of the day, we all there's one thing in common. It's really imbalance, and it will risk your life. So sa avoidant or restrictive food intake disorder, literal why nagkakaon na nahadlok sa pagkaon, although nagutom or may urge gid why sila urge magkaon, pero physically gutom-gutom na gid na sila. Ginalikawan gid nila magkaon kay nahadlok sila nga mag-gain some weight. Do pareha sa anorexia, pero mas malala ini. Sa anorexia kakaon pa sila, pero ini grabe gid sila ilalikaw sa pagkaon. Bali dumakita pa lang nila ang pagkaon, hindi na ko sina. Or kung may masimhutan lang sila nga for example, biskan adobo pa. Ew, hindi ko magkaon. I don't like the smell. Or sinigang, which is manami. Hindi ko sina. So yeah, that's pretty much the example of avoidant or restrictive food intake disorder. Ang epidemiology for avoidant or restrictive food intake disorder is one of the common eating disorders treated in children. So, ga-occur ini mostly sa mga children. So, bali ini syempre bala mo naman mga babies o mga toddlers, very picky gid na sila pag abot sa pagkaon. So, kung pinagustuhan lang sila sa ginikanan nila nga maging very picky, it will come to an end nga i-avoid na lang nila ang food nga ginabutang sa ilang lawas. And yes, between 5 to 14% of children in inpatient programs and as many as 22.5% of children in outpatient programs for eating disorders have now been diagnosed with ARFID. So, one study showed it affects boys more than girls. So, kita nyo na mga brate nila, balang mga bata, amo na ang mga nakikita nyo nga, no, I don't want this. Kung butangan mo balat broccoli sa tubang nila nga mga crib or sa mga nila, high chair nila, hindi gid sila kay gusto gid nila chicken nuggets. Pero may mga iban nga biskanano nga food ang ibutang mo sa atubang nila, hindi gid sila magkaon kay gusto lang nila maglantaw cartoons o sinilpon, di ba? So, ang etiology for eating disorders, this is generalized. And sa genetics or biology, actually, certain people may have genes that increase such risk of developing eating disorders. Biological factors such as changes in brain chemicals may play a role in eating disorders. And second is psychological and emotional health. People with eating disorders may have psychological and emotional health problems, or emotional problems rather, that contribute to the disorder. They may have low esteem, perfectionism, impulsive behavior, and troubled relationships. So, diri, may mga, ang cause nito, may mga low self-esteem, for example. Kung sa psychologically speaking, feel mo tambok-tambok ka na gid. So, feel mo laway-laway ka. So, syempre, masulod na sa utok mo nga, I need ko magpaniwang, I need ko maging munin, I need ko nga muni lang ang kilo ko, muni ang tsura kalawas ko mo na nga i-deprive mo imo kaugalingon without the actual consult for the dietitian, and it will actually become a psychological problem. Okay, syempre, anxious ka. Actually, it's a combination of physical and emotional health problem. Kay anxious ka nga maging sexy mo. For example, ako kung tambok ako, dasan anxious ako. Ay, ilaw ay ko, kay kalain na akong lawas. Need ko muni akong lawas. Need ko muni lang ang akon nga size for my waist. So, i-deprive ko akong kaugalingon kay way ko kabalo sang right balance eating na diet without depriving myself of the actual nutrition nga needed sa akong lawas. So, I'll restrict myself from eating to the point nga magniwang gani ko pero hindi na kaya i-intake sang akong lawas ang pagkaon to the point nga magniwang pagid ako. So, yes. And, or for example, kung naniwangan ka naman sa aking imo kaugalingon, binge eating ka, ay, niwang ko kalain, do steak ako muna. Kaon ka. Basta nga, hindi mo na mapunggan ang imo kaugalingon or hindi mo pa feel nga nagtambok ka, magkinaon, hasta nga, nagtinambok ka nga to the point, hindi mo na kaya punggan imo kaugalingon nga magkaon. So, yes. Kag, may ibang dabi nga, for example, makita mo lang ng pagkaon and eat with your eyes first muna. Di, syempre, manami ang presentation sa food. For pagiging impulsive, for example muna gani nga kita mo lang ang manami nga presentation sa sushi, baklon mo na biskan hindi mo man gani type gid sang una ang sushi, or kung hindi mo man gid na uyunan ang sushi sang una, gulpi mo lang baklon kay manami ang presentation, kaunon mo muna dason. Or troubled relationships, for example nga na bayan ko dabi ni Ether charot, tani hindi man. So bayaan ako ni Ether dason na broken gid ako katama sakit, so nagmukmok ako kag nagkinaon hasta nga nagtinambok ko nga nagtinambok, hindi ko na mapunggan akon kaugalingon nga magkinaon. Or kung troubled relationships man, for example, ang opposite naman, I forgot to eat, hasta nga nalipatan ko nagid kung paano magkaon, hasta nga na one day na bugtawan na lang ang akong senses nga magtry ko magkaon, pero ginaluad na sang akon nga lawas, hindi na ginabaton kay hindi na sanay magkaon. So something like that. So that's pretty much it. So sa treatment na lang ta. So sa treatment, actually ang akong research di about sa mga for parent ini nga messages. Pero kung ako, kung for this treatment naman, hindi lang sa akon, dapat kung may kita mo nga may symptoms bala for you know, for eating disorder, any kind, kiti mo mag-diet sa atubang kabata mo or sa atubang katawo nga may eating disorder, mag-trigger pag sa ilang nga eating disorder nga mag-push through pag sa imbalanced diet or sa or unhealthy eating or starvation sa ila kaugalingon. Kay dapat dapat mag-set example kita nga magkaon kita insakto sa bagay, insakto sa oras, mga subong sina, although hindi mo man kinahanglan gid nga ipuwersahon gid insagida. Pero if they are unresponsive about teaching them, how about being an example to them, diba? So yes, and talk to them as well. So hindi man kinahanglan nga, for example, unresponsive sila, hindi ka na maghambal sa ila, because you care about them. Syempre mahambal gid kita sa kung ano ang dapat ubrahon, di ba? Dapat hambalon gid naton nga uy, hindi na ni healthy. How about consulting a psychologist or therapist kag dietitian para ma-health kanila parehas, kay syempre physical and emotional health na ang problem sila kung eating disorder, right? Kag this one, try mo ang maging positive example sa imo nga kilala nga may eating disorder or may symptoms, hindi pa man nga needed nga eating disorder. As much as possible, kung nakita mo uy may symptoms sumuni sang eating disorder, dapat i-try as soon as possible nga maging positive impact ka sa isa ka tawo na muna na dapat hindi mo sa i-criticize ang iyang lawas nga ay law sa imong lawas, or uy nagtambok ka, biskan gani hambal mo uy nagtambok ka, uy nagniwang ka. Syempre hindi tanan same emotional level. So basically, kung maghambal ka subong sina sa isa ka tawo nga gapaniwa nga nagtinambok ka, syempre ma-conscious pag gina sila, so ma-push through gina sila nga magka-behavior sila nga imbalance diet. For example, sa kamaniwa nga gusto magpatambok, uy way kagihapon ka tambok, pero kita mo na gid nga gusinangyup na lang sa permi para magtambok, kay frustrated na siya magtambok, kay gusto niya magkaunod, kay feel niya duwa ay sa kuno-unod puros lang tulan brahon tati maging base mag-push through ina rather para mag binge eating siya once magtambok sa kag hindi niya kaya nun wait may mahimo. And yes, it's better nga mag-set ta sa example. Actually it's good nga mag-set ta sa example, maging positive impact ta sa tawo nga may symptoms of eating disorder, but the most recommended way is that to seek help from the professional like a dietitian, a doctor, or actual psychologist or a therapist, kay nga man para therapist or psychologist for emotional health, and syempre sa mga dietitian or sa doctor for physical health, kay syempre it's a combination of both. It takes two to tango sa eating disorder. So yes, budlaytan na. So that's pretty much it, and thank you. Bye.